Oops. Here we go.
That's really cool music that you can't hear. I can't hear it, but I can kind of hear it. You can edit this, right?
Hey, I'm Chad Larsey with the Mountain Life Real Estate Team here in North Georgia, Western North Carolina mountains. I have Chris Coulter here with Supreme Lending with me. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the market here in the mountains. And this is August, the end of August. The last week of August. I cannot believe we're already that far into 2020.
We'd be getting ready for football season right now under normal circumstances.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't know if the COVID-19, the pandemic that we've been experiencing has totally pushed that advanced that so fast, or what's going on. But it just seems like 2020 is, even though it's been an unprecedented year, some crazy things have happened. It has been going by super fast.
It's really flying by. There's no doubt about it.
So, speaking of unprecedented, that's the word I'm hearing pretty often and to describe the market, what's going on. I mean, it is crazy out there. A little bit of chaos, a little bit of uncertainty, all kind of, I could just name all kind of things, adjectives, I guess, describing the market that we find ourselves in. And I'm sure it's the same way with mortgages and what's going on in the lending world. I mean, they're all obviously tied together, but
absolutely.
Let's just talk about market in general. I mean, here in the North Georgia mountains, Western North Carolina, we're seeing unprecedented. You're going to hear me use that word a lot, but unprecedented low month supply of inventory. I mean, for the first time, I'm seeing days instead of months. I've been licensed now for 15 years, even in the before the boom or the bust, so to speak, the Great Recession, where we saw, values plummet and things of that nature. I'm not seeing anything that's even touching what we're experiencing right now.
And isn't that the opposite of what you had expected it to happen at the beginning of the year when all this first went down and we shut the economy down? I was worried there for a minute.
About 3 weeks went by. There was a period where, man, we were really focused as a team to maintain control, orientation, keep that attachment amongst the agents as we were all in our respective homes. And just remain one unit. So we were having morning Zoom calls, afternoon Zoom calls, just trying to keep that. And now here we are, just 3 weeks goes by, we're essential business, and all of a sudden everybody wants to come to the mountains.
Yep.
And it just has not stopped. I mean, we're so blessed. God's been so good to us. We've had record-breaking month after record-breaking month, and it has just been great. But now we find ourselves with, more buyers than we have properties, and aggravation, frustrations are starting to set in. Not because of anything that we're doing or not doing that we're supposed to be doing, but it's just the fact that we're finding ourselves in multiple offer situations. Again, just low inventory, can't find what they're looking for, and they're wanting out of the city, now that they can, our customers and clients can work from home. They'd much rather work from home in the mountains than they'd work from
absolutely. They want to spread out. Everybody wants to spread out a little bit now.
So how do you see all of this tying into, the lending industry?
Yeah. So it's affected us in a lot of the same ways, but and I'll go back and just start back in February, give you some perspective. I'm with you. I was uncertain as to what we were going to face at the beginning of February, and we are extremely blessed. I've been originating mortgages for 25 years, and so I've seen good markets and bad markets, and I've never worked so hard in my life, and I've never been so busy in my life. And we've set record months at Supreme Lending in both May, June, and July for record closing months. So some of the ways that I see that this has affected mortgage finance are, there's just an extreme amount of buzz and volume around low interest rates, right? We're looking at record low rates, sub 3% 30-year fixed rates, mid 2% 15-year fixed rates. It's just unbelievable. And so there's a lot of refinance activity. And so what I think customers are facing outside of just, getting away from just housing for a second in terms of buying a new home, what that's creating, it's creating a large log jam in most lenders' pipelines around the country. So, I think the application capacity of the mortgage industry of a whole is something like 18 million transactions, and the industry's running at like 38. Mm-hmm. So it's more than double what the capacity is as they try to, economic forecasters try to predict those types of things. And so, our capacity is so jammed that you got to be careful if you're a customer seeking to refinance your house, because your average time to close a refinance transaction at a national lender like maybe a Bank of America or Wells Fargo is in excess of 70 days. So you got so it's hard to get them closed quickly. Mm-hmm. We save the capacity in our pipeline that we have and the human capital that we have we want to help our customers with the refinance, but we want to save capacity for the purchase transaction, because we know that that's what is sustainable over the years and grows year over year. The refinances are very up and down depending on whatever rates are going to do. So it's really important right now for consumers to be careful about what lender they select. Guidelines are changing all the time. Time frames are long, and they're not always forthcoming in the beginning to tell you it's going to take 72 days to close your loan. They may tell you it takes 30 and then just continually delay without giving you a whole lot of response. There's a lot of frustration with our industry right now around those particular time frames. So you just got to be careful in the beginning on the lenders that you choose. But the way that I think it's affecting, the appraisal process in our industry is being affected by the amount of volume and the number of transactions, and how fast, these days as real estate agents start to get into multiple offer situations, they're looking for advantages to how they can win a contract over 3 other offers. Mm-hmm. And the way that you write the contract and the length of time that you put in there for contingencies and the speed with which you're able to arrive at a lending decision early in the process to make sure that the seller's house isn't off the market for an extended period of time. You start looking for those short time frames, and so appraisal times are what are suffering right now. A lot of appraisers are overworked as well.
Right, and we're seeing that big time up here.
So normally we can get an appraisal back in 5 to 7 days on a normal turn, and that's probably increasing to 10 to 14 days now on a normal turn time because of their volume as well. So we're seeing that. You got some extended turn times on appraisals, and you've got some people bumping up against the values. Your values are growing so fast that a lot of times the values are outpacing what's currently on the books as far as comparable sales, mm-hmm. Because there are so few things listed and so many buyers.
Well, I think it's super smart that you guys are more focused on the purchase than the refis. But tell me this, what do you say to those folks that are looking to refi that are probably getting frustrated for the amount of time that it's taken? I understand it from a business standpoint, but they're still customers too, and so you got to take care of those guys.
And we want to. We value them as customers, particularly because most of the people that we're doing refinances for are past clients and are repeat clients. Mm-hmm. So we certainly want to honor that business, and we are appreciative that they've come to us for that. And so, but what we set the right expectation in the beginning. So if I'm taking a loan application right now for a refinance transaction, and today is August the 26th, right? August the 26th today. My first available date to close a refinance right now is October the 10th. Wow. Okay, which is about 40 days, 45 days. Now, if you have a particular need or in some sort of emergency situation where you really need to close that refinance in a sooner time period than that, then we'll certainly do everything we can to accommodate that and get that done. But in general, we find that the need to refinance is not a emergency, right? So, if you've got a house under contract and you've got to meet the closing date of a buyer and a seller, there's a little more urgency to that closing, that happening when that's agreed to between the two parties and they bring us a closing date. When we as the mortgage company have the opportunity to do that, we want to get it done, and we want to get it done efficiently, but we want to save some of our capacity. So we just set the right expectation in the beginning, and we don't try to close refinances in a rush. Unless the customer has a need.
Under promise and over deliver.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, are you guys, again, you are a part of us. You are here in the mountains and servicing our clients and customers. I want to make that very clear and do an amazing job. So
thank you.
We're so happy and so blessed to be an affiliate partner with with all of Supreme Lending, right down from the leadership, Pat Flood and all those guys. I mean, y'all do an amazing job and provide a wealth of knowledge to us and our clients. But
thank you.
I mean, it's crazy times, and like you said, we're not experiencing it yet, but I kind of feel that it's coming where we're going to start seeing appraisals coming in lower than purchase prices.
Yes.
And that to me could be, that's where we're going to start seeing a slowdown in things.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we see some of that, and you're right. It's not. I don't think it's become prevalent here in Blue Ridge or Blairsville or the North Georgia mountains. I think when you get more around metro Atlanta counties, you are seeing some struggle with that. And I think that it's important, if that does happen, that you just have to have, you have to have first of all, you have to choose your lender carefully, and then you have to know, what the makeup of an appraisal is and how to read one to make sure that, because at the end of the day, an appraisal is an opinion of value that the appraiser it tries to arrive at using a method of data analysis that they go through. So there is an analysis and there's a data piece to it, but at the end of the day, there are some subjective pieces to giving an opinion of value. Some appraisers will make certain adjustments for some things, and another appraiser might make a $10,000 adjustment on a pool, whereas another guy might make a $25,000 adjustment on a pool.
And then you got waterfront views and all that other stuff up here that really factor into the price of these properties. And if that's a tough thing to do.
So you have to be able to look at the appraiser. So that's why I think you just have to be careful. There is a way you do bump up against that when you've got multiple offers and you have a house that may be listed for $500,000, but here somebody wants to offer $525,000. You know what I mean? And so if you've got 3 or 4 people doing that and the price escalates over what the original asking price was, it creates the potential that there could be that an appraiser could struggle to find to justify it based on data and based on prior sales, which is the main piece of data that they're going to use to arrive at their opinion. But if those sales have not yet caught up to the way the market is outpacing, then you have to. We have appraisers in our pool though that I think are good appraisers that know and live in the markets that they serve. So we're not going to have a guy up here in Blue Ridge or Blairsville from Peachtree City or Savannah appraising property in the North Georgia mountains.
That's so important.
So yeah, that, and then there needs to be a communication level between the appraiser, the real estate agent, and the loan officer, so that we can make sure that the appraiser is working with the most up-to-date information in terms of sales, and understands the market. There may be things that you, as a licensed agent, haven't grown up here and understanding this market in different areas and pockets of value that might be different than other areas, that you might be able to provide insight to an appraiser that they would find valuable, that they may not even know. So I would say that you guys are probably more equipped even than an appraiser to really know what the market's doing. And so an appraiser needs to listen to what you say. So between the teamwork, between a loan officer, an appraiser, and a realtor, we of course the appraiser is they're not going to do something they can't do. They're not going to push a value that's not there. But if there's a market condition that they don't see, they're going to take something into consideration that maybe that they didn't think about prior. So
right.
It's important to know when you're in a multiple offer situation, you see a property you really like, to be working with people that are experts that have done this for a career. They have some experience looking at these appraisals and making sure that what you're getting what you pay for, basically.
That's right. Or you got money to burn.
That's right. Or you got or unless you have money to burn, and
you got plenty of cash, and
then don't worry about it. Some people don't care about the appraisal. I'll pay for that.
That up here.
So, no doubt.
You and I've had some previous conversations talking about folks that are looking to refinance.
Yeah.
Then they get that appraisal back. They realize that they have quite a bit more equity than they thought they had. And so what do? They decide to go to market.
They cancel that refinance and list the house.
Exactly. I mean, it's a great time to take advantage of downsizing, or, maybe you want to be on the lake. You've always thought about being on the lake. You can get that equity out of your home, make that purchase on the lake or on the top of a mountain with an incredible view. We're seeing a lot of that too, and I think that's key to point out. But I guess the big question everybody might have, exactly where are the rates right now?
Sure. So in general, the 30-year fixed rates are sub 3%, 2.99, right there on a 30-year fixed rate, and then 15-year fixed rates are around 2.5. So there are always going to be variances, and there are always going to be, I mean, you could, on a 30-year fixed rate, 2.75 may be available. You may have to pay a little bit more in closing costs and discount points to get to that rate. And it may or may not be cost effective, but that's a determination that we can make together. But yeah, in general, about 2.99 on a 30 and 2.5 on a 15 is about where they sit. But anytime you can take, I would tell your customers if they're in the middle of a refinance or contemplating refinance, and a good thing to always look at, and when you're in an environment like this where you got such historically low rates, is look to see if you can cut the term on your loan. That's how you're going to save a lot of interest over time, is if you can get that 30-year fix down to a 25, 20, or 15. If you have enough of a decrease in the rate, you might find that your payment doesn't even increase very much over where it is now, and you cut the term on that loan. So I think that's where the value is in refinancing right now in a lot of situations, not in all, but certainly looking to reduce the term is a good thing to do.
Well, overall, last question. We'll wrap this up.
All
I
right.
mean, I know you at Supreme Linen, you guys have great leadership. You've got a lot of data, a lot of intel coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the overall picture? 60 days, 90 days, 180 days out. What do you guys think is going to be taking place?
Sure. So we think, from an interest, I'll answer that in a couple of ways.
Okay.
There's a lot of data, obviously, to analyze and to synthesize. And really, we're also in unprecedented times, so there's a lot of things that are obviously happening right now that we don't know what the effects are going to be. So, forecasts at this point can be,
It's $1 million question,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's exactly right. But what we think will happen to rates is we think we don't think there's much danger that rates are going to increase off of where they are right now, all the way till the fourth quarter of 2021. So a year from right now, basically, you got a year. Right now with these rates. Now we have an election coming up in November, and so you never know, right? We got some local judges we're trying to reelect or not reelect, but you never know how that's going to impact rates. It always seems to have some bearing on it, but you never know if somebody gets elected, if it's going to be positive for rates or negative for rates. You never know that. Just suffice it to say that there's an election, something may happen from an interest rate standpoint. If it does, it'll probably be temporary. Mm-hmm. But we think that you're probably looking at these historically low rates for a year, and then after a year, they're going to eventually go up. They have to, because there's only one way to go from here. Mm-hmm. But we think they're going to go up in a measured way. It's not going to be like all of a sudden they're going to be 6.5%. They're going to go from 2.99 to 3.25. They're going to stay at 3.25 for 6 months, and they're going to go 3.5. And they're going to gradually climb back up to more normal levels, which would be in the 5s. In a healthy economy on both sides, interest rates, 30-year fixed rates would be in the 5s. But we think we got another year of this. Now, the big unknown is, will demand stay like this? I mean, there's no indication of it slowing down right now. The report that I always look at is the unemployment or the jobs report. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been a difficult report over the last 6 months, record, high unemployment. Yet it's still not as bad as they initially anticipated.
Exactly.
And ever since we hit some highs, which were like 17%, we had 17% unemployment back in March. And now we're down at 10. 10's not a good number still, but it's better than it was. It's far better than people thought it would be at this time. Mm-hmm. So, I always think that employment drives, what we do. I think somewhat in Atlanta and metro Atlanta and in Georgia and North Georgia mountains, I think we tend to outpace and not act like the national economy. Mm-hmm. So when you see some of these forecasts and they become really worried about some cities like California, New York, DC, and really, really high-priced markets like that. We enjoy a nice, diverse economy in Georgia. We're not dependent on one thing, like whether it's oil or technology or anything like that. It's a broad-based economy. So, we don't get hit. We typically stay better than national averages, and we don't tend to lose as many jobs. And Atlanta tends to create a economic engine that has employment benefits that reach all the way out here, I would say, even.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, and like we said to begin the segment here, more and more folks are starting to work from home.
Yeah.
And they're coming up here, but, I mean, working for major corporations out of the Atlanta market.
Yeah.
And you got to know that their life is much happier. They don't have that crazy commute and the traffic in Atlanta. employers are probably, I mean, if they can get out of leases, that's another, we'll talk about that in another time.
One.
I mean, the whole commercial sector of real estate that would be pretty scary, I would think. Now that I was on a webinar the other day, and they're talking about technology, not just in real estate, but technology in general. The digital age is, this pandemic has advanced the digital age by 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
I believe that.
I mean, especially even in real estate too, you think about, people like, or companies like Carvana, who they do touchless transactions. I mean, they just bring it right to you. Now I've noticed Auto Trader starting to advertise the same thing. All these people, I mean, Amazon, look what
Amazon's done.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, we may be living like the Jetsons before you know it.
We already are.
You and I may see it before we go.
There's no doubt about it.
But one last thing I did, I know I've already said this, but what kind of knowledge do you have? I mean, I keep hearing the term mortgage forbearance. I mean,
sure.
So what is that looking like? You guys getting reports on that?
Yeah, we are. And so the forbearance is a tool that that you can use to basically suspend mortgage payments if you have an economic need to do that. And so it's something that you can take advantage of with your existing lender if you have a loan that's owned by a government organization, which most people do. It's your loan, whether you know it or not, your mortgage is either owned or backed by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or FHA. Okay, and if it's backed by one of those government entities, then you're eligible to put your loan into forbearance for a period of time without. It's very easy, to do that. You can call your mortgage servicer, and it's just a suspension of payments. Now, what happens is they suspend your payments for, say, a 3-month period. That's the most common thing right now. And let's say your payment was $1,000 a month, and you suspended it for 3 months. Then after 3 months, you've got a $3,000 balance that they're going to tack on to the end of your mortgage. So if your mortgage was 30 years, your mortgage is now 30 years and 3 months.
So the interest continues to accrue.
It does. They extend the term of the loan, but it doesn't. It does not affect your credit report. It doesn't. You're not reported 30 days late on a credit report, and you don't have to make up the shortfall in a lump sum. You can do that in a lump sum, but they just tack it on to the end of the loan, and it's just it's a way for you to get some relief and get through a difficult period of time, and they'll do it for 3 months. They'll extend it for another 3 months, and they'll do it for a maximum of 12. So you can literally suspend your mortgage payments for 12 months. And there are plenty of people doing this that don't even need to do it. You know what I mean? Some people are just doing it just to do it. Yeah. I'd rather get my mortgage paid off personally.
Right.
But if you have a need to do that, then it is really easy to do, and they won't turn it. You don't have to provide any documentation or anything like that.
Hey, listen, when this whole thing broke out, I don't say I didn't go into panic, but I took advantage of a few.
Sure.
I canceled them quickly when I realized things were actually improving for us.
Yeah, right.
But we started cutting all kind of expenses. We didn't know what it was going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it became, statewide shelter in place, and we just didn't know. And because of that unknown, I just, you just go ahead and take those precautions. But I quickly removed them and I made them up and just moved on, just like nothing was happening. But it was,
it's not a bad thing to do. No. It's not, and it will not affect you negatively from a credit standpoint, or it shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And if your people have questions on how to do that or what it means to do that, they can call in here, and get my number.
I'll put your information
put my information up there, and I can talk them through how to do it and what to watch out for.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a great episode of our Mountain Market View. I appreciate you so much.
Me too.
Joining it and being an affiliate partner with us and a friend.
Well, I have enjoyed coming up here for years, and I absolutely love it up here. I love your team, and I love your customers. They've been just a pleasure to deal with, and just love getting away up here. So thank you for introducing me and making me part of your team.
Well, we're so blessed. I tell you, we're just, words can't even describe. The team, my business partners, you, Thomas and Brown have been wonderful to work with, our affiliated attorneys here with the Mountain Life Real Estate team. So it's just been a great thing. So until we come back,
absolutely,
I guess we'll close this thing out.
All right.
So. some really cool music that you can't hear.
I can't hear it, but I can kind of hear it. You can edit this, right?